Hello, everybody. Welcome into debate night. We are back yet again, and this time we've got some disc golf Pro Tour action to recap. The season is finally underway. We just had the Supreme Flight Open. We've got some new champions at the top of the podium. It's an exciting time to be involved in disc golf, and we're going to break down everything that went on this past weekend, as well as some other storylines we didn't get to cover yet. And we got a great cast tonight as well. Brodie, man of the people, is back.
Yeah, man of the people's back. So this past week, Andy, big fan favorite, early guest of the year potential for the fans. People really liked Andy. Other big comments, the Kristen Lott comments. Hunter, I'll give you now the floor. Do you have anything to say, because no one was agreeing with you in the comment section from last week?
I think at the end of the show, I said I thought I was wrong.
You did.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think at the end of the show.
Too late.
No, the comments had already been made.
I was going to say, I think people might have already clicked off at that point.
That's fair. That's fair. The comments had already been made by that point. But yeah, I owned up to it at the end. Rob, on the other hand, I don't think he ever.
We'll have to get his opinion when he comes back. Other hand up, which I don't know. We'll see how it plays out this week, because last week I didn't know the questions and I actually did pretty well. Maybe one of my best shows ever as far as points go. This weekend was our anniversary, and also I'm starting to realize that Tuesday is like one of my busiest training days. I don't have a lot of time, and I'm coming in here blind again. So hand up.
All right.
Hand up. I'm going to try my best to figure out a new schedule for the Pro Tour. I was able to watch some of the hour free. I don't know about you guys. I don't know if we're going to talk about that. But them switching it over, I'll wait and see if that gets brought up, because I have some words. I have some words.
Well, maybe in the Powerball topic.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
the Powerball topic.
You can find a way. You can find a way.
Squeeze it in there, Brodie.
Hunter back again, known Kristen Lott hater.
No, whoa. Don't put words in my mouth.
What
I
happened?
never
I was
said
gone.
that.
Holy.
I never ever said that. Ross can be the known Kristen Lott hater. I never said that.
You jumped on his back real quick.
No, I was trying to justify. I was trying to figure out. I was trying to figure out what the heck Ross was saying. So
that was your first mistake. That was your first mistake, is that you gave Ross any mind at all. So that's on
fair.
you.
That might have been. I was just trying to figure out, because I was like, he can't mean what he's saying. So I was trying to be like, well, this is what I think he's saying.
He's just a contrarian. It's his thing, you know.
Yeah, I learned my lesson.
Takes one for the team.
Yeah, it is what it is. I admitted I was wrong at the end of the show, but hey,
we'll
I'm
see
back.
if they accept your apologies.
I'm back.
And then Nikki is joining us tonight for the very first time.
Yes. I'm super excited to be here. So I'm Luke Taylor's mom. I guess I'll get that out, but I try to have a little bit of my own personality too in disc golf. I've been playing since 2007, so very casually, although I looked up my results for my first tournament in 2007 last weekend, because I was playing at the same course. And I think I shot like plus 76. So I'm a little bit improved since 2007. Usually I play FA1, FA40 kind of thing, play FPO when I want to donate to my friends. But my husband also is regional pro. So he's been an MPO player for a long time. And we have a course at our house, and, you know, everything at our house is set up all disc golf. So I love to disc golf. It's something I'm super passionate about, and I've made a lot of connections, especially in the Michigan community. I'm a big fan of young players. I like to get to know young players and support them, because I know what it looks like on the other side, being a young player and trying to get out there and make it on tour. And so, yeah, I'm here, and I'm excited to talk disc golf with you guys.
Awesome. Excited to hear from you. And then we got Dustin back yet again. He's been every season. He's back with us to try and take down some more wins.
You know, I'm just here to have a good time, just anchor down. It's nice to talk about some disc golf again. It's been a minute. Looking forward to it.
All right. Well, let's jump right in. Let's talk about our champions, our first couple winners of the season here. So Ricky and Owen have each started the 2026 season with a statement win. I want to know what impressed you most about their performances, and realistically, what do you think their ceilings look like this season now that they've had this perfect start? They got a jumping start into the 2026 year. Brodie, what do you think?
Well, like I said, I wasn't able to watch too much of the footage yet, and I'm sure people can bash me in the comments that why the heck am I on this show? that is completely warranted, I think. But I'll give you some points from I think certain things I thought were interesting from these two winners, from things that we have said about these two individuals in the past. One, I'll start with Owen first. I think we like when we were doing our picks this week, we were kind of going in with the impression of this was not a great course for Owen. And we kind of pick and choose. There's certain courses that we feel like, man, her skill level suits her really well. She's one of the best putters on tour. And that obviously in the FPO division, if you're just a really good putter, turns out you will win a lot of times. But I think the one thing, and I think Hunter might have even brought this up, so I might be stealing one of his points. When you're able to throw overstable discs downhill or uphill and able to throw it on a line that you're really, really comfortable with, your misses are going to be way less offline than players that are trying to flip stuff up. And when you're trying, especially throwing downhill, if you're trying to flip stuff up downhill, that can get really, really squirrely in a real quick. So I think that was a big thing that led to her success probably. And then the second thing I'll have to say, all this hate talk about Ricky not being able to win, when is he going to win? He's washed, all this stuff. I've always said it is so hard right now to win on the MPO. There are so many players. Heck, Gannon Burr was nowhere to be seen in the round one. And we all just kind of were like, oh, whatever. He put himself right back into position. It is so hard to win. Ricky hasn't fallen off. He is still one of the top 5 and has been one of the best players in the MPO over literally the last decade. He finally got it done. I'm very excited to talk to him on Tour Life just to hear kind of getting that off his back, because I'm sure it was a tough win down the stretch.
Hey Trevor, can you go ahead and charge him his extension, please? Thank you.
Yeah.
It's two of those.
Little
That's a
graphic,
great question.
one-time extension remaining.
One-time extension remaining. Yeah, I mean, no doubt, Ricky, that getting that win off of his chest.
You can say it, momentum. You can say it. I know Hunter wants to hear it.
I love momentum. Big momentum guy.
All right, Hunter, what's your breakdown of the two winners?
Look, I got to be straight with you. I think what impressed me most about Ricky's win was that he somehow won that tournament. I don't really know how it happened with the final round, to be completely honest with you. I think he got somewhat fortunate. I think that Ricky is such a phenomenal player that he keeps putting himself in position to win, and one was eventually going to fall in his lap. And I think that's what happened here. Round 1 and 2, 100% C1X putting. Round 3, it all matters. 78% C1X putting. The clutch Ricky putting disappeared. In crunch time, we saw him messing up. That shot on 17, saw it off left. The shot on 18, just blast the thing deep, Rick. That's all you got to do. Cross the island, saws it off. I think really it's the fact that Paul Macbeth, Kyle Klein, and Chandler Kramer didn't push him. Like it took Gannon Burr shooting an unbelievable round to even put pressure on the guy. And he didn't seem like he was in a mental position. I think the pressure was really getting to him. And if someone on his card was pushing him, he might have lost that event. With that being said, his ceiling's as high as ever, because now he knows he didn't play great in that final round. I mean, you could see the putt. He was terrified of it, yet he won. So I think the pressure is completely off him. And so now the rest of the year, he's playing a lot freer. He already got the win this year. He doesn't have to worry about having another winless year. So I think his ceiling's incredibly high. Owen, I only got a few seconds left, but I think what impressed me about Owen was she was able to win without the putt on a course that neutralizes the putt, especially some of these greens. Take C2 putts completely off the table. She was the 5th best putter of the tournament and still won. That is not typically Owen's strong suit there, yet she found a way to do it. That impressed me about her.
Yeah, certainly an outlier stat for her, not making a ton of C2 putts. Nikki, what were your thoughts on our two champions?
Okay, so I'm going to start with Owen, who is 44 years old and still winning FPO at the Elite Series. I mean, she's 8 months younger than I am. That's crazy. That's just nuts. And, Brodie was saying, like, sometimes people say she's not going to do good on certain tracks. And I think back to her win at D-Glow. I would have never thought Owen was going to win at D-Glow either. And she has won in the woods. She has won on open courses. She has won with lots of elevation. She's won when the course is long. She's won when the course is short. She's aggressive and fearless. Like, maybe her C2 stats weren't overwhelming, but she made some clutch ones on 12 and 13 in the final round. Like, her final round started slow. She was shot 9 down, right? Or she went 7 down on the back 9. And so she had a really slow front 9, went 7 down, made those C2 putts, just fearlessly running through everything. And I do think she's close to her ceiling, but as long as she's fearless and aggressive and a good putter, she's going to be in the conversation for a little bit. Ricky's win was different. I think he won the tournament in the second round when the pressure wasn't as intense, because I do agree he started to crumble under pressure, and Gannon was like laser beaming everything. I was starting to have a heart attack with some of Ricky's stuff. That huge putt on 15 was very clutch. But when he, screwed up the shot on 18, especially just getting into the green, I was like, what are you doing? But Ricky is the top. He knows how to compete. He has a super high ceiling. He competes consistently at the high ceiling. And now that he has that win, I think he's going to feel a little bit less pressure, maybe to prove himself. And he's going to be out there in contention a lot of the weekends.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Owen Scoggins does continue to prove to us over and over again that she will win in places where we weren't previously predicting it. Dustin, wrap it up for us. What were your thoughts?
All right, so for this being as difficult of a course as it is, I think it's pretty impressive that Ricky only had 3 bogeys the entire tournament. I think that is definitely a very impressive result. I do think he putted very well through the first 2 rounds in particular, but still got it done, well enough in the final round to get it done. He overcame some really bad shanks in the final round too. I mean, he had some really bad shanks and was able to scramble and put himself in position to at least not take damage. Yes, no one was pressuring him in his card, but Burr from the 3rd card was putting on a round, right? So he still did have to perform, and he was able to do so. He shot the 2nd best round of the tournament, tied with Luke Taylor, actually. Shout out one time at 11 under par. That was round 2. Obviously, Burr burns that in the final round at 13 under, but still, I thought he played really well. And also, this is a big improvement of last year. He was never really in contention to win this tournament last year. He did win it, or he was in contention to win it in 2024. So it's good to see him get an early win, especially after a winless season, right? I think that's the other really big thing that you have to think about. And look, his ceiling, we know it's high. He's an all-around good player. He has a complete game. He's a consistent player. He's always a contender. And so he just cashed in on that again. Now, for Owen, I think what impressed me most about her is that she came from behind from the chase car with the hottest round of FPO for the tournament at 9 under par. And as people have already said, it wasn't all about the putting like it usually was. She threw really darn well that final round. Like, when you look at her greens in regulation and her fairway hits, she was just on top of the ball. She shot 18 under overall for the tournament compared to last year when she shot 1 over par. And I know the course has had some changes, but that's still a drastic difference in performance on a similar property to, what she's played on in the past. And to tie in back to what Nikki was saying, I think it is crazy that she continues to be at the top of FPO despite also being eligible for an age-protected division.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think to Hunter's point, it is interesting. Rick had such a weird performance where he was at times collapsing, and I think he benefited greatly that he wasn't being pushed a ton. I think just having that 3-shot lead over Paul and then more shots over everybody else really helped him. But you also got these dashes of clutch moments where, because he threw bad shots and had those weird shanks, he had to make some really important up and downs that he was getting done in crunch time. I mean, even just having to throw up that hill to get up and down to win on 18 was that is a knee knocker right there.
One quick question.
Go ahead.
We had Waco start the season in the past, and that was always a tournament that, winners would come out of nowhere, and, we would see people have great rounds one year, and then the next year they're nowhere to be found. We are now starting our year as Supreme Flight. I think there is something to be said about it being the first tournament of the year where some people just get off the bus.
Save this for 2 questions from now.
It's coming. It's coming, Brodie.
Okay.
It sounds like you got a really good argument for 2 questions from now.
Great minds think alike. Great minds think alike, Trevor. That's a great question.
Good question, Brodie. Good question.
Yeah, we got 2 topics here coming up, talking about kind of fluke performances. First one, kind of talk about some specific players, and then we'll kind of address the early season performances overall. So this next topic here, we're going to talk about specific performances because, to Brodie's point, early in the year, especially the first event, there's always going to be a few names on the leaderboard that raise eyebrows, that you think to yourself, okay, is this for real, or is this just kind of the first event? People are shaking off rust. What's going on here? And I think we've got an interesting batch to talk about here. So I want to know which of these performances was most likely and least likely to be a fluke. So we got Taylor Chosick, obviously kind of coming out of nowhere, almost winning the FPO division. Chandler Kramer coming in there with forehands that we've never even seen before, navigating that course. Lisa Fakis, somebody who's been around a bit longer, but a great performance from her as well. And then Anthony Barella, guy that has dominated this tournament the last 2 years, shredded this course and had a very difficult weekend, finishing in 32nd. So, Hunter, most likely and least likely to be a fluke out of that batch.
Yeah, when I look at the word fluke, I just want to be clear on what I'm defining it as is
Oh, here we go.
basically I'm saying what happened this tournament, how likely is it to happen again? Very unlikely, fluke. Because who I'm taking to be most likely to be a fluke, I understand this is their game. I understand they're disgusting at this part of their game, but the likeliness for it to put them in contention regularly is basically non-existent, which is Chandler Kramer. The guy is disgusting with the forehand. He can shape shots like crazy, but if you watch these shots, like they're like even I think it's hole 2 or 3, I forget which one it is, but that par 4 that goes way down the hill and he has to shape it to the right before going back up the hill. Like if that forehand he threw is 1 degree less hyzer, it's rolling. And now it's a terrible shot. Like the forehand hyzer flip to turnover in place of a backhand hyzer, it's just such a touchy shot that like it is asking for precision that if you just threw a backhand, if he threw a backhand, this I wouldn't say fluke at all. But the fact that he only throws forehand, he just can't compete at this level on tour regularly. So most likely to be a fluke, Chandler Kramer. Flip side, least likely, I'm going Taylor Chosick. I was very impressed with her game. She has a very high ceiling athletically. We've seen she's a D1 athlete, track and field at Oregon. That's no joke to be a track and field athlete at Oregon. So she has a crazy high ceiling. And what she did out there didn't look that shocking to me. It looked very natural. She seemed very comfortable. And really what I think it came down to is really, I think the pressure she cracked a little bit in that final round. If she gets in those situations a few more times, I think she could really be a threat.
I am very curious to see everybody else's opinion on Taylor Chosick and how this plays out, because she could be legit or setting us up for the silliest take of the year potentially. Nikki, what did you think about these performances?
All right, so the most likely to be a fluke, I kind of wrote AB out of that right away because he usually has a handful of kind of bad performances. So even though he has played well here, there's always been a couple times that he doesn't cash. So I was looking between Chandler and Lisa, which kind of gives away the other one. And I had to go to statistics, honestly, because they both shot about 30 points above their rating, and kind of see Lisa's made the Tour Championships last year. She statistically kind of won that for me. I believe in Chandler's game. He won 2 A tiers in December. He's a really good player. His putt looked really great. He's, I hope he proves me wrong, but I agree with what Hunter said. Like when you are forehand only, that just can be such a limiting factor. I really believe you need to be aggressive on both sides of the disc in order to be competitive all the time. But Taylor, yeah, I'm a huge fan. So she crossed my IG account a few years ago because of my running and disc golf interests, right? And so like I was really interested in her before a lot of people had heard about her. And she has elite distance. Like she could compete with a lot of the MPO guys. Like she throws putters and she throws mid ranges when a lot of women are throwing drivers. She hangs out with Sophia Donica, and Bradley Williams has been coaching her. So her form looks really good. Her putting was amazing. I don't know if you saw some of her long putts, but there was no yips in her wrist. Like it was just like, right? So here's a woman who throws further than like any other female on earth. She was a heptathlete. She trained for explosive power. She's putting really well, and she's chill under pressure. Like she might have got nervous, but she stays relaxed. She stays happy. She stays focused. She was dead last at the event last year and came back to almost win this year. So she is not a fluke in my book.
There's no doubt. Yeah, the putt was honestly the most impressive thing. I agree. It was very smooth. Dustin, are you kind of in agreement here? What are your least likely and most likely?
Yeah, the list of 4 you gave us, I agree that Taylor Chosick is the least likely fluke of all of them. And it's just because we've known that she is an incredible athlete that can throw both ways, and she has incredible power. That was very evident right from the rip. And she showed some good putting now at the Supreme Flight Open. She also definitely puts a lot of time in the fact that she's playing this tour down under before the season starts. You can tell that she's really motivated and has that drive to be at the top. And this is only going to be her second full season on tour. 2025 was her first full season, handful of events 2024. She's already shown she can place high at a few events like she did last year. So I do think that this is a sign that she can continue to do good things going forward. Now, when it goes to most likely a fluke, with Lisa Figgis getting 4th, that is a bit surprising, but I feel like she's always good for a handful of good finishes per season. That's kind of been her track record the last couple of years, so it's not surprising to see her do well this tournament. When you think about AB 32nd, that's indeed disappointing, especially with his history at this track. But as Nikki already said, he's going to have a few duds every season. That's just kind of what he's known for. Like, he's going to have a few, even when he was at his most successful, when he had that 4-win season, he still had some stinkers in there, right? So it's not that crazy to me that he would have one dud here at the beginning of the season. And then, yeah, I think Chandler Kramer coming top 5 is definitely a fluke finish in my opinion. He didn't even play this event in 2025, and he came 74th place in 2024 at this property. Not only that, but if you just look at his track record on tour, his best finish the last 2 seasons was 21st place. He's never been anywhere near the top of contending for a tournament. And as people have already said, he has a very limited game. I don't think it's going to pan out in the long run. It's no surprise that most of our best players can do it all, and he's one of the people that can't.
We're giving him all the bulletin board material he needs for this year to maybe get more top fives at this point. Brodie, everybody very kind of low on Chandler, high on Taylor. Are you in the same boat?
Did Chandler Kramer almost, or at least was in contention for the European Open?
Yes,
4
that was
years
when he
ago,
kind of
yeah.
popped out a couple years ago.
Yeah, that was like the blue hair Chandler, right?
Still is.
Yeah, I think
So-
it's.
Yeah, so I'll say that, I mean, I'll be in agreement with everyone, but I'll give a little bit more detail. Like, the reason why people like Chandler Kramer have a much harder path ahead of them than someone like, say, like an Isaac Robinson or an Ezra Robinson or a James Conrad, these players that are backhand only, is just the way that the way that the disc travels with a backhand turnover is so much more controllable than a forehand turnover. It is like the torque that you put on the forehand. It is like Connor was saying, there's a lot of times a really fine line of where it will just turn over and burn. And the backhand, the way that you can throw, you can change the spin to where you can get kind of actually carve through the lines. It's just gonna be really tough for someone like that. Now, Chandler has worked a lot on his putting too. His putting is actually a really, really good job. It's just, can he actually get to some of these holes that require you to throw a 400-foot turnover backhand? Can he actually get a forehand there? Or the opposite, if it requires a 450-foot hyzer, can he get a forehand there? That's always going to be the question with Chandler Kramer. Lisa Fakis, a lot of people forget she almost won a world championship if she didn't four-putt hole 16. We kind of know what we're going to get with Lisa. And then AB, same thing. But the thing I'll say with Taylor, and maybe some people will get upset with me with saying this in the comments, disc golf is very easy. The ability of getting good at disc golf, it's a very, very easy sport. You don't have to actually learn how to throw the disc differently. You just throw a different disc. It is very easy to learn how to throw far. It is very easy to throw to get shot shapes, and it's very easy to putt. Putting's very easy. We've talked about this. The putting apparatus is massive compared to other sports. So the sport itself is actually very, very easy. The thing that Taylor is going to have to work on, and this is something that kind of Hunter and I think maybe other people mentioned, is can you do it when there's actual pressure? Can you make the right decision when there's a little bit of wind? Have you been in a spot before and you're looking at a shot, and can you pick the right disc for that shot? Those things take time. Those things take experience. But the actual getting good at disc golf, we've seen it from a lot of people. It's really easy to get good real fast. It's another thing to be able to win down the line.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah,
I've always said putting's so easy. I guess it's just a joke to me.
it is.
Here's the problem with you, Hunter. You have so much bad stuff in your head. You actually probably should switch to left-handed.
Not a bad idea.
And then you're just like,
just toss it. Put the bun in the oven.
There's no pressure because you're like, I'm putting left-handed, I should miss, and then you'll get really good at putting left-handed, and then you won't have any trauma.
You get bad.
And then I'll get bad because then I'll have trauma, and then I can just putt right-handed.
You go back.
And it feels so much easier. This might be my cycle.
You got to get rid of the trauma.
That could be the play. That could be the play. Yeah, there's no doubt that all eyes are going to be on Taylor Chosick. As soon as the next event, because it immediately, in the FBO division, we're always looking for okay, who are some people that can emerge and be exciting in that division, especially with Kristen's absence. And right away, it's like everybody's kind of like, well, duh, it makes sense. She's a really good athlete. The tools are there, but obviously we've seen this story before.
What was she doing in Oregon?
She was a heptathlete.
Yeah, heptathlete. So she throws and jumps and
and so the thing is, and this is where it's going to be interesting to kind of see how she develops. When she's doing all those events, it's very much like, go, I'm doing it, and then I'm done. There's not a lot of thinking involved. It's just you've already put in the training and you're just going and executing. In disc golf, there's a lot of I got to pull the trigger. Am I making the right decision? Because that's a lot of times when you see people mess up, is they're second guessing their decision. They don't know if they're actually making the right choice, and that's where they mess up. Where if it's like, hey, I'm hurdling, or hey, I'm long jumping, or whatever, it's like you're just trying to execute. There is no decision making, and it's all the work you kind of put in before that actually goes. So it'll be interesting to see how she
It's the
Yeah,
same story with Sophia Donica, by the way. I don't know if you guys are familiar with her background. She was a
like
rower
a
at Harvard, at Harvard University. Then she got a PhD in chemistry and was a track athlete as a graduate student. So, like,
and she's a competitive biker too now.
Yes.
I think so. She's like super athletic too, which is why they're such a great team. Like they just push each other.
Yeah, rowing, just blindfold that person and put earplugs in that person and let them just be a machine. That's all you have to do. Right? I mean, I'm sure there's a little bit more to it, but I'm saying that is going to be the biggest difference, is having to make the decision making.
We got to get Sophia into our warehouse on a rowing machine, put up some numbers.
Good point.
You think she could beat me?
I would think so.
I don't know what kind of rowing shape she's in anymore, but I imagine it could be competitive.
I think we should not injure her during the season, though.
That's a good call.
Yeah, but being
tall helps.
Being 6'5" is a massive disadvantage for the bench press, but a massive advantage for rowing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Massive.
I'm just thinking, like, what I learned in my 30 minutes of rowing research was technique mattered more than almost anything.
Oh, the technique's super easy.
I don't know.
I'm definitely down for a Brodie versus Sophia rowing contest
off season though. When
for sure.
If you injure yourself rowing, you should retire.
Well, especially as a competitive
that is.
All right, go see if you can do it.
I think post-tour championship, she'll be in Lynchburg.
I saw like 3 guys almost do it in our warehouse consecutively.
In Trevor's words, I was rowing next to Davy Jones' locker because I was about to pass out.
Dude, Hunter almost threw himself straight into the grave, bro. Like, he was pale as a ghost.
I stopped and I said, Brad, I need a Gatorade.
Wait, weren't we only going to like 500 meters?
We were doing a minute
30
max.
seconds.
Or 30 seconds
as hard as you could.
Yeah.
How many rowing machines do you have in the warehouse?
It's because we walked in there. We walked in there
did it like
with no warm-up, and we just sent it at
and I had
7
no
in the morning.
breakfast on my stomach.
You guys did like a bogey bro video where you just show up and no warm-up. You just go and play.
It's ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
That's a bad idea.
Yeah, we got a rowing machine, no big deal. All right, let's stay on the topic here of these fluke performances. We're going to kind of get into what Brodie was alluding to earlier. So I want to know how much stock do you put into the early season events and player performances at them? How much credit do you give to, the rust or what it might be? And then I also want to know, because we had mentioned this a little bit on Grip Block, what do you think? Like, will the additions of 2 new tour stops in Louisiana and Charlotte increase the effect of unpredictable and confusing results? Or is off-season rust mostly a figment of our imagination? Because, there are times where you can look at the first 3 weeks of the season, 4 weeks, and you got to kind of write them off when you look at the story of the season as a whole, because you get such random events. Are we going to see something even more so having these courses that people have not really been playing on tour consistently or ever? That's what I want to know. Nikki, what do you think?
All right, so I'm going to appeal here to shortly before the tournament came out, there was a reel and players were making their predictions, and somebody asked Gannon if he was going to win, and he said, "No, I'm not, because I'm always rusty." Right? So if the world's number one thinks that there's rust, there is definitely rust, and I think it just depends on the person how that rust shows up. So my son is a perfect example of rust, right? Like I talked about a little bit before. Like he shot so bad in the first round that he was +9 and 89th place, right? Because psychologically he hadn't been competing. And I think you can have 2 different kinds of rust. I think you can have the physical rust of maybe like you work on your game differently or you live in a different climate. And then you can have the psychological rust where you have to get into the mode of what is it like to compete and what is it like to have that confidence in your throws and on the greens. But then he shook that off and came back and ended up cashing in 24th place, which was an incredible comeback from 89th to 24th. I think that rust is really a thing, but it just depends on the person. Some people's personalities deal with it a little bit better. And I think most of the time we remember the end of the season much better than the beginning of the season. Like we might remember who wins the first one, then we kind of all black out for a few tournaments. And by the end, we're like, oh, they had such a great, strong season, when really maybe they just put all their good stuff together from like Ledgestone to the end, right? And as far as the new events, I'm excited to see the one in New Orleans, especially because I'm going down there actually. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But with it being a new tournament and a place where not as many pros live, I'm hoping that it is a little bit equalizer, that, not a ton of people are going to have super intense course knowledge. That's going to be totally different in Charlotte, where like half of the tour, I feel like, lives on that course. And so I want to see like, how are the storylines going to write? Are those tour players going to be dominant? What's that going to look like? I think the crowd would be great. But so I am excited to see the 2 new events.
Yeah, Louisiana is certainly kind of just an empty plate there to see what happens. Dustin, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think now that we have these early events in the season taking place at difficult courses that test the full range of skills, I do think that your performances at these are just as important as any other event throughout the course of the season. I think events like the ones in Charlotte, Louisiana shouldn't increase unpredictability. They should, again, test players a lot, especially with them having to maybe learn new course, particularly the one in Louisiana. And not many people have probably played PDF. So it tests your skills as a golfer. How are you able to game plan and come up with what is best, in the heat of the moment when you don't have as much time to prep, and it puts everyone on an equal playing field in that regard. And it's not like Waco, right, where it is kind of just a birdie face and you could get random winners. I don't think that's going to happen at a course like Olympus, as we saw, where most of the top players were the ones that were performing well. And I think that's just going to kind of continue on. And I just feel like, you're not going to discredit a big win early in the season. Look what it did for AB in 2024. He was able to pop off and rattle off a bunch more wins and be a consistent guy. And it's like, it can show you an early glance at what someone's capable of as the season begins, particularly how healthy they are and things of that nature. And as far as like off-season rust goes, that's going to vary player to player and how they treat their off-season. Like, there are some people who treat the off-season like an off-season. So yeah, those people might be a little bit rusty physically and mentally, but you also have some of these players who are grinders, who are going out there and they're playing off-season tournaments. They're putting in a lot of time. The Tour Down Under being an example. Obviously, we know a lot of top players go and play Memorial, Open at Tallahassee, some of these other events in the South before they head over to Florida. And so for those guys and girls, they're already kind of in shape and ready to go. And so it's like, it just depends. It just varies so much player to player. I don't think you could really draw too much on it. I think it still carries a lot of weight, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've always said it's tough to beat Gannon when all he does is play disc golf and build Legos. There's not much going on there to distract him. Brodie, what do you think about the rust, the unpredictability?
Someone's got to infiltrate and like try to get him a girlfriend or something.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's got no distractions.
Yeah.
So the first thing I'll talk about is the Big Easy Open. This event's in 10 days. I bet there's probably mostly everyone's already there. They're going to have ample time to play. And as we know, in the new era of the Disc Golf Pro Tour, these pros can't keep their mouths shut. So there's going to be no like secret lines. There's going to be nothing to where someone's like, oh, I didn't even know that was possible. Everyone's going to pretty much have enough time to play this course. Now, maybe if you are off the fairway and then like you're in a weird spot, then maybe course knowledge would definitely help. But I don't think it's going to be a big decider. Now, when it comes to rust, I think it is an interesting one. Like talking about the Luke Taylor situation, like I don't think that was a physical rust, because if you just haven't been practicing or whatever, like you're not all of a sudden just going to start shooting really, really good. That was probably more like a mental. He probably wasn't having a lot of rounds where he had to stand around and wait for everyone. He probably got frustrated with the timing and then was able to figure it out the next two rounds. I will say another thing too that I think is really interesting. I don't know if you guys heard this story, but the U.S. national half marathons just went down, and the leader and the second and third place person that were like chasing them, they were following like the car that was like filming and everything. The leader actually followed the car because the car turned incorrectly. They ended up running almost half a mile off the course, had to turn around another half mile to come back. And she ended up finishing like 9th place when she pretty much was going to win it for sure. And there was a lot of comments saying they should have known the course. And at first I was thinking to myself, like, what? That's crazy. They should have known the course. That's why. And I was on that side. I am switching to the other side. They should have known the course, because if you think about it, if you're bobsledding, if you're an F1 driver, if you're all these other kind of athletes, those people are studying the course. Why can't runners study the course?
It's 13 miles and all the turns through the roads and everything.
I mean,
you're not going to remember. Like if it's painted, if there's painted lines or something, I don't know if that, but like 13 miles of memorization is a lot.
If you're following the pace car and they turn wrong,
right? Yeah, the pace car. The pace car should know the course.
All I'm saying is I'm throwing it out there of like if it was really, really important, I think people would study the course, and I'm going to leave that to disc golf. I think the same thing when it comes to disc golf. If you know you're a slow starter, then maybe you need to go out and play some C tier, B tiers before. Like there are things that you can do to give yourself a better chance. And that's all I'm going to say. Like maybe you should know the last 5 miles of the half marathon.
I'm not going to waste my time on rebuttaling that, so I'm gonna say this before my time starts.
Because you know it's right, Hunter.
But like, no, because if I thought I knew the course well, and then the pace car turns,
Yeah,
I'm trusting the pace car.
Yeah.
Like, there's no shot.
sure.
I'm like, that pace car doesn't know what's going on. I'm going this way.
wrong.
All right, Hunter, question for you. Question for you.
Yeah,
If
that's
I
like,
go-
let me ask you this: if Mattio's on your card, you have no caddy book, and he says, "Oh no, that Lake's OB on this New Orleans course," you're not trusting him?
Here's the question for you. If I said, hey, Hunter, you have to do this half marathon by yourself, and here's the map, and you can't have like GPS tell you where to go, and if you get from start A to start B with the right turns, I'll give you $1 million.
Yeah.
You don't think you could do it?
I definitely could, but now change that to you win it, you get like $500 and a pack of crackers, and there's a car in front of you
And
that
these
you gotta follow.
bobsledders,
Yeah.
these bobsledders are just going for gold. These bobsledders are just going for gold. That's all I'm saying.
I think the pace car makes Hunter win over Brodie here, because I mean, I'm old enough that my races, I did have to like learn the map and run a whole marathon or a whole half marathon knowing the race course in here. But like, if I had a pace car and I was following that and they went somewhere different, I would think that I did it wrong.
I'm initially with you guys. I was on your guys' side, and then I thought I'm saying, give it a couple hours and you guys will come
I'll
around.
give it a couple hours. I'll text you. I'll text
Then
you
I was
later.
thinking about it, I was like, wait,
Once I
if
simmer on
this
it.
was my job and this was the most important thing for the last 6 months of my life, and the course has been out for like 4 months.
I'll simmer on it.
It
All
sucks.
right.
It's a sucky situation.
All right. That was our run debate night segment.
Sorry.
All right, Hunter, go ahead.
Look, I think I have an interesting take here, in my opinion, because what I think, if we look at the middle section of this year, has always been the early section of historic years, right? Once we get through Champions Cup, we go Jonesboro, Kansas City wide open at Austin, and then out west. That's kind of been the start to the season. I think that this year, more than ever, the beginning of the season is going to be seen as less fluky because we're playing Southeast Disc Golf. So we're starting Southeast Disc Golf. I don't know too much about this Jefferson Parish course, but when I was looking at it, I saw a lot of woods. I saw a lot of landing zone play. So I'm just going to lump it in. But what I do know about the Queen City Classic, what I do know about Olympus, what I do know about New London is players that succeed there. I like their chances at succeeding at GMC, MVP, USDGC, and then the Tour Championship is right back in Lynchburg. And so what I think historically why it seemed fluky is we remember so heavily the Ledgestone on stretch, which is a lot of times more of the touchy, more of the landing zone, more of the woods golf. And I think the players that succeed there, course style wise, are the ones that we see as, oh, Paul McBeth is just good. He takes a while to warm up. Is that true? Or is Paul McBeth good at those styles of courses? If that's the case, we're going to see Isaac Robinson, Paul McBeth, Ricky Wysocki. These guys have good starts this year. That's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting them to succeed at the Big Easy Open, Queen City Classic, Champions Cup, slow up in the middle of the season, and then succeed at the end again. And I think that the flukiness was more the play style that we saw early in the season and less about off-season rust or anything like that. So I think more than ever, this early season isn't going to seem fluky when it's all said and done.
I do think that recency bias has a lot to do with it. And I do think we'll at least get an answer. Like, I mean, we'll see how the first events, go, and it'll be different venues. So that'll certainly come out. Brodie, you seem confused.
Yeah, I have a rebuttal to that
Go ahead.
after Dustin goes.
Dustin went.
Already
led.
You
because you maybe need that map to kind of guide you through everything that's happened.
You literally just listed like 3 of the top 10 players, and you're like, I think they're gonna have a good start.
Yeah.
When have they not had a good start? When Paul was injured?
No, Paul is known to start the season slow. I'm saying I don't think that's going to happen this year.
What does that mean? When?
He makes a good question. He makes a question.
When did he start
history?
When he was injured. When he was coming back from injury.
He always finishes the season better.
But he was on the lead card at Supreme Play and at Waco last year, right? On the final day, wasn't he on the lead card for both of those events?
I'm not sure. Isaac Robinson's another great one.
He also wins at Waco too.
Yeah, but Waco's wacko. That's what everyone agrees with that.
I think
you could argue till you're blue in the face. Everyone's gonna agree with me on that one.
This is what I would say. I think it's the opposite of what you said. I think good players are going to be good majority of the time. I think at some of these fluky courses, that is when players that are normally in the 40s, the 50s, that's when they can break off and finish in the top 15. you're not going to see a lot of those players finish in the top 15 at some other courses. But I think some of these courses, when I consider them fluky, that's when it's like, hey, you didn't ever have a really bad kick that cost you 2 or 3 strokes. You didn't have a really bad rollaway or whatever. That is where some of these players that normally aren't in the mix can get into the mix, where they're not going to be able to do that at some other courses that aren't fluky.
Yeah. I guess what I'm saying is we a lot of times judge the season based on the home stretch because of recency bias. So when we get to the end of the year, we look backwards. And I'm saying that with it starting in the Southeast, I think that the leaderboards early in the season and late in the season are going to look similar. And the middle of the season is going to be the one that looks a little weird to us because those events have shifted towards the middle. So I'm saying that when we look back on this season, I think that the leaderboards are going to look the least fluky or the least weird to us because we're starting in the Southeast and we're finishing in the Southeast. And when we have recency bias in October and November, we're going to be like, oh, yeah, so-and-so started really good and finished really good. They just slowed up in the middle of the season versus instead of saying so-and-so had a slow start and finished strong.
So you didn't think this tournament had a fluky leaderboard is what you're saying because it's in the Southeast.
No, that's not what my take was at all.
I think his take is that it wasn't a fluky leaderboard because it was a difficult course.
No, I'm literally asking. You're saying I'm asking. Do you think it was a fluky leaderboard or not a fluky leaderboard?
Let me pull up the leaderboard. I mean, Chandler Kramer is weird.
I think you were saying that you didn't think it was a fluky leaderboard.
I was saying that I think that when we say fluky starts historically, when we look back, it's because the start to the season looks so different than the old start. When I look at this leaderboard, I'm willing to say, no, this doesn't look fluky to me. We got Chandler Kramer up there is weird and Jake Ebenheimer. Other than that, we got Ricky, Gannon, Paul, Kyle Klein, Sullivan Tipton, Adam Hammes, Ezra Robinson, Aaron Gossage,
there's always
Isaac
going to be there's always going to be
Antela. That looks very chalky to me.
There's 20 players that are all really, really good, Hunter. They're always going to have good players in the top 20. What I'm looking at here, when I look at fluky, I'm looking at guys that we really haven't seen that much from. Okay, obviously Chandler Kramer's in there. I think Joel Freeman, that's someone that just disappeared from the tour. He's all of a sudden back in the top 10. That's interesting. Harper Thompson.
He didn't tour last year.
Harper Thompson. But I'm saying even before, the reason he didn't tour last year is because he wasn't really doing that good the year before, Hunter.
He was my dark horse pick. That wasn't fluky to me. I knew it was coming.
Harper Thompson, that's a name that I don't see in the top 20. Dallas Garber, that's a name that I don't see in the top.
Let me read you
Elijah Bickle.
This is what we're used to.
Elijah Bickle, Zachary Nash, Braden Sides. I mean, I'm saying
Nash is not that unusual. Let me read you the Waco.
Yes, he is. What? In the top.
Watch this year.
We're not talking about this year. We're talking about this. We're going off of what we know in the past.
Let me read you Waco's.
Dallas Garber could be a top 10 player. We don't know. I'm just saying.
I'm saying it's more likely from this start.
Let him cook.
This is Waco. This is Waco 2025. Okay, so this is we are normally going to this very early. Adam Hammes won, Simon second, Nico LaCastro third, Evan Smith third, Andrew Marweed fifth, Evan Scott fifth. Then we get Gannon. Then we have Grady Shue, Greg Barsby. Then we get Calvin. James Conrad.
That's a fluky leaderboard.
Waco is a fluky tournament.
That's what I'm saying. We normally start there. That's my whole point is we normally start with a lot of these tournaments that are more fluky. So therefore we see the beginning of the year
Vegas
in a different light.
Weird though too, wasn't it? Like
yeah,
Vegas was kind of weird.
I think that the tournaments that we have now at the beginning, because of the courses they're playing, we know what Hornets Nest does. We know what Champions Cup course is going to do. We know what Olympus does. It's going to remove some of that fluky narrative from the beginning and shift it to the middle of the season because it's more event specific and less
Waco,
time
we can
specific.
all agree. Waco was one of the flukiest courses we ever played just because anyone out there could shoot well. Supreme Flight, because of the difficulty, it makes it a little bit different. But I still think with it being the first tournament of the year, we are seeing people like Casey White. We don't really see Casey White lead tournaments.
I feel like if we do see Casey White, we do see him lead tournaments. Like, I mean, I feel like Casey's either in the middle or he like shoots really hot and he's right up on leader and chase. Like that's like where he exists.
My point is there's a difference between a Gannon Bird leading a tournament and a Casey White leading a tournament. Right. We're not shocked when we see
Casey White also finished in where let me find him. 22nd.
Yes. I know.
So what are we saying?
What I'm trying to say is Casey White isn't.
We never see flash in the pan opening round, top round with rain delays. That never happens at a consistent course.
Certain courses you will not. Certain courses.
I would take your money on that one. Give me thunder and lightning delay at any course in the world where you have to finish the next day, and someone's gonna be there's gonna be a weird name on top of the leaderboard.
No, I'm not saying anything about. I'm saying there are certain courses out there that you can pretty much say, hey, someone outside the top 15, top 20 is not going to be leading this tournament. There are certain courses.
Ever say that. You can't ever say that with certainty. Casey White was not in contention to win this tournament. Casey White lost by 14.
There are certain courses that you are more likely to not see.
Sure, you can say more likely. Absolutely, I can get on that.
He'll allow it.
I can get on that.
Obviously, I'm not saying 100%, Hunter. But what I'm saying is there are certain courses that you are more likely not to see someone be able to pop off and beat everyone else. A course like that, I'd be very interested to see more at the European Disc Golf Festival.
Yeah.
Like courses like that, it's tough for me to think that one of the top guys aren't always going to be shooting really good.
I guess what I'm saying is the tour courses that we play in the Southeast, I think are more of the courses you're saying, where it's less likely to have fluky results. So starting the tour, going to Hornets Nest, already being at Olympus and coming to New London this early, I think is going to make the beginning of the season look less fluky because of the courses.
I mean, Charlotte has one of the flukiest courses that we've ever played.
Nevin?
Yeah.
They're playing Hornets Nest.
Zach Melton won the tour.
But it's not being used.
Nathan Queen won I'm saying Nathan Queen won the tour championship.
He won it there. Format though was wacky.
Oh, format.
Yes.
Format.
Yeah, I mean, if you ignore momentum, I can get behind it. But momentum's a real thing.
We're at an impasse. Let's move on. Sound off in the comments on this one. Where are you at, Team Hunter or Team Brodie on the fluke gate here? Let's talk about this Powerball integration, because it's been kind of polarizing. It's been a hot topic since it was announced. So I want to know, how would you grade the Powerball integration after its debut event? Obviously, you would have seen kind of the package that they use for the broadcast, but also we got this announcement of the purse. So I want to know, does the large tour finale purse increase justify their brand activation all on its own, seeing as it's nearly a 6-figure increase? Obviously, a ton of money just in that respect. Does that alone just justify anything they're plastering on the broadcast? Do you think it was tasteful? What's your overall grade, Dustin? What do you think?
I mean, so far, I think it's fine, right? I mean, obviously, money is king, and money in this situation obviously added the pricing. You know, we're seeing the tour championship increase by almost $100,000 overall. You're going to see winners go back to the $50,000 compared to the $30,000 from last year. So yeah, you're going to see more pricing. I would like to see better pricing throughout the course of the season and not just all back Pro Tour Championship. So that maybe is something to think about. But yeah, that's huge. Also, if any additional funding is left over that's not being funneled towards pricing, as long as we're getting some type of added value, then that's obviously going to be a good thing. And one of the things that we got supposedly from this, according to the Pro Tour, was the free streams, like the free 1 hour and all that jazz, supposedly was aided by this, onboarding of finances. Now, I'm not sure if it's because the money was worth it to let them do that, or if that's something that Powerball is like, hey, we want our branding out there as much as possible, so we're going to need you to throw some more free streams out there for us to get our name out there. Either way, was a net benefit for everyone, in my opinion, when it comes to the finances. I also think this whole Ace Toss CTP activation that they're doing on course, it makes sense. It's natural to what Powerball is. The fact that it builds if no one hits it the first time and it keeps building, that's just natural to what Powerball does in general with the lottery systems. I think that's great. I also didn't think that they were overdoing it. Yeah, they had some on-course assets. Yeah, they're in the graphic as the presenting partner. Yeah, there were a couple of shout outs here and there, but it wasn't anything over the top. And look, I get people are always going to be a little bit edgy when it comes to gambling or sponsors in that realm coming, but non-endemic sponsors are hard to come by in disc golf, folks. And this is a huge one. A lot of other, competitive things are going this direction by having these types of sponsors. And so I think that so far so good, in my opinion.
It's true. I mean, you got to have a filtered somewhat, but beggars can't be choosers, and it's a huge deal to get a non-endemic sponsor there. Brodie, what do you think about the Powerball integrations?
Okay, so a couple of things. The first one, again, I think the 1 hour with the way that currently the Disc Golf Network is set up and the Disc Golf Pro Tour is set up, because I don't know if that is the best way to get to broadcast disc golf, but the way it currently is set up, having the 1 hour free per day to where it entices people to get a little taste. And if their favorite players are winning or someone's close and they want to keep seeing it, then maybe it might get them to subscribe to the Disc Golf Network. I think that's a great idea with the way that it's currently set up. The one thing I will say that I thought was very interesting, and I don't know if they were meant to say this or not, but at the end, they thanked Powerball for allowing the 1 hour of free coverage. And there was other stuff talking about this idea that without Powerball, this 1 hour of free coverage would not be possible. I don't understand how that, I don't understand that. I would love for someone, the Disc Golf Pro Tour, to explain to me why they couldn't have done this last year, why Powerball being involved all of a sudden made it possible. And the other thing I want to say is I don't give a rip. If you are sponsoring coverage, don't show ads. I should see no ads. When I'm watching the Masters and they give me Rolex the last hour, there's no ads. Thanks to Rolex. You're thanking Powerball, and I'm having to still see the same ads every 5 minutes on the live coverage. That makes no sense to me. If it was actually the thing of where Powerball brought us this 1 hour, we should get no ads. It should be all because of Powerball. But yet we are still seeing all these ads. That makes no sense. So someone please explain it to me.
Hunter, can you explain it to him?
Nope. Not even gonna try to. I would say this integration has been great so far, to be honest with you. When I look at it from a perspective of, like, what I saw people getting upset about were hilarious to me. Like the logos on the caddy bib. If I like, can you tell me what logos on half the like NBA team's little sleeve? Like, that's advertising, baby. That means nothing to me. Thanking them for the hour of free coverage, to Brodie's point, yeah, that's a little silly. But, you know, does the large finale purse increase justify the brand activation on its own? It's pretty close. You know, the fact that we have people taking home 50 grand at the end and 100K, this thing is big enough that $100,000 is going just to the Powerball Cup. When they were pre it, they weren't even saying how much is going to the Powerball Cup. They were just like, we're able to invest so much more in infrastructure and on course, whatever. I mean, I was just doing quick math in my head. This ace thing has potential to cost Powerball over 30 some grand because it resets to 5 grand. So if it's hit when it gets to 10 grand, it can reset down.
Insurance.
And like that's a big thing as well. When we look at this all, I actually wanted to highlight, this is Paul Dexter commented this on Grip Lock because he asked Gemini, because he said, my guess of 250K seemed very low. And so he had Google Gemini spit out a bunch of stuff of how much it thinks it is. And when I read through it, I think a lot of it's a little bit overkill, but it came in at between 500K to $1 million a year. I feel like 500K is actually pretty close. The more I thought about how much they had to invest into all of this. And I also want to point out the Supreme Flight Open field went down, but total purse went up. Is that because of Powerball? I don't know. I would be excited to see if that's a continued trend throughout the year in addition to the finale.
You forgot to point out that Google Gemini sucks.
That's why
it's like the worst AI of all time.
I read it all, and it made a lot of sense.
I couldn't read it.
Like,
yeah, totally. That makes lots of sense. Let me break down why Powerball is a game-changing.
No, if you want me to, I can read it all. I'd be more than happy to. I just felt like that wouldn't be a good use of time on the show. But I read it all, and I was like, look, some of that's a bit overkill. So $1 million that's laughable. But it did convince me that it's probably closer to 500K a year over the next few years. I think that is very logical.
Remarkable if they had gotten that much.
That would be 20% of it going to the Powerball Cup. And when you look at it that way, that alone's enough to be like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, are they really going to give 80% of this thing to one tournament? That doesn't make sense to me.
What is this? I mean, what do you think? I think that's what FedEx is doing.
Can I rebuttal real quick?
Well, let's let Nikki answer, and then we can have a discussion after.
Okay, I want to talk. I have a rebuttal for you, Hunter.
Go ahead, Nikki. See if you can explain this to Brodie.
I probably can't because I'm not going to be able to explain business to Brodie. But I think I give it a grade of an A. Like, the logo didn't bother me on anything. It looked fine on all the koozies, looked fine on the bibs. That wasn't a big deal. I liked the 1 hour stream on YouTube. I kind of went and I looked at the numbers for FPO and MPO on the day to see, like, it looked like there was about 40K extra viewers. If even some of those translate into possible DGN subscribers, then that's a win-win both ways, because we would love to see more DGN subscribers too, so we can keep our sport keep growing and have better broadcasts there. I want to see the players get more money, so a huge purse at the end is great. I would like to see the payouts deeper. I feel like, the rich get richer very easily, which I know that's how it is in sports, but like, I want to see a lot more money. I'm a player's mom. Of course I want to see more money, but I want to see people being able to sustain their life out there on tour. So we needed a big brand partnership. We needed somebody outside the sport. I'm not a gambler myself. Sports betting commercials are kind of a little bit of an ick for me, but I think it's a great thing that they got this partnership. I know somebody worked their butts off for it. So I hope that it pays off for us. The only time in the broadcast that bothered me at all was, I think Val was saying, go buy a lottery ticket or go buy a Powerball ticket or something at one point. And the ace pot thing is super cool. I mean, that's one of the most fun things about going to like disc golf leagues and tournaments or whatever, like having an ace pot that people can hit and walk away with some money, even if they're not, in the hunt for the win. That's a great thing. So all in all, I think this looks like a pretty strong partnership.
Yeah, I think it's off to a good start and it's exciting. Brodie,
what I would be
rebuttal?
curious to know?
Oh, Dustin, go ahead.
Yeah, just this is before we get into the rebuttal thing. What I would be curious to know, and we'll probably never figure this out, by the way, is obviously before the presenting sponsor for the championship to get the higher prize pot was Barbasol.
Mm-hmm.
But Barbasol was really only tied to that one event, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we all assume that all the money that Barbasol spent for that to be the named partner of the championship went towards the purse. Now you're doing that now with Powerball 2, apparently, but how much more did Powerball have to spend to get their name on every single event as what it's looking like? So that's what I would really want to know is like, was there that much of a value add to justify them being on every single event? As opposed to Barbasol, that was just one event a year. Right, like that would be the real question to ask.
No, it's a huge. I mean, it's like they gave them basically like, this is everything we got. Like this is the most expensive thing. And like I've seen the Pro Tour ad costs. Like it's not budget. It's not like they price their professional prices.
And the reason why I asked this is because the other issue is like, supposedly this is helping them do more free streams. I agree with Brodie. I think that's a bunch of malarkey. I don't believe that for 1 second that is why they're doing that. Also, look, it doesn't look good when they're also still doing layoffs and cutting people while they're supposedly getting all this added revenue. And it's just like, I do kind of wonder how it all pans out in the end.
So does anyone know the answer to my question?
What was
the
your
free 1 hour
again?
thing?
Why are they showing?
Because they are positioning this as if them making that more coverage free could lose them money via DGN, and so Powerball's money is what supplements that. That's how they're positioning.
So why are there
ads
ads though? So why are there ads
they're
for
saying, like,
other?
They're not saying it's a substitute for ad revenue. They're saying it's a substitute for lost DGN revenue. That's
a bunch of BS in my opinion.
Crazy.
But that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't, correct. But that's what they're positioning it as. They're saying, like, we normally can't afford to make coverage free, not because of the ads, because the ads are there no matter what, but because we need people on DGN to be spending money on DGN memberships. They're saying now we can afford it. And like I said, it's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
I'm just saying the only way it makes sense is if there's no ads. If they're like, hey, we're able to show you an hour of coverage with no ads because of Powerball. That makes sense.
Yeah, I hear
no
you.
Other way
that's what they do that with other companies, like in the final round.
And then Hunter, the other thing too, again, I'm not bashing Powerball activation, all this stuff. I think it's great. I think it's really, really positive. The thing I'm bashing is more the marketing and the talking about like, oh, we're able to do this now because of Powerball and blah, blah, blah. And the same thing with the Ace thing. The Ace thing, they have done this at other events before. This is not a brand new thing. And again, this whole idea of like, we're not able to do this or we're only able to do this because of the Powerball thing. I'm looking at it right now. You can take out insurance for $1,000 for a golf tournament. And obviously an Ace in disc golf is going to be a little bit different than an Ace in golf. But I can take out insurance right now for $1,000 to have over 140 people attempt a hole-in-one. And if someone gets it, they got $50,000. Like the amount of money it would cost to be able to create this themselves, or I don't know. That's the only thing I have issue with it.
Agree with the
logic. This whole idea of like,
I would be curious to ask if they actually are doing insurance on the Ace thing. Because I think that
why would Powerball not do it?
Because I think it'd be very hard to find an insurance company to bite. Because you're setting up a temporary hole at every course. It's not an actual hole.
They had it that's literally what they did.
I have one addition to add to this really quick that may say that they're not doing insurance is because the money is still guaranteed at the end to go to something, even if it doesn't ever get hit. I
The
believe the money
5,000
is still
is,
guaranteed.
Right. They're paying it out
Some
no
amount
matter
is.
what.
Yeah. So
My point is not so much how they're doing it. My point is, if the Disc Golf Pro Tour could have done this before, that's just my whole point.
I don't know if I agree with it on the ace side. I agree with it on the hour side. But the ace, I think that the format at Maple Hill they sold it on was they had pros throwing on this downhill shot that was like close to 500 some feet, if I remember correctly. Like
it was never getting aced.
It was never getting
years.
aced. So this is, you have random people, so you don't have a test on how good these players are or not. You're setting it up like 200 some foot shot. It's probably gonna get hit. So that's what it leads me to believe, that this is just Powerball doing it, and they're saying, I don't think it's insurance. I'd be curious to ask them. I just feel like that'd be a really hard thing to sell, because the fact that it's not like this exact hole, this whatever.
Probably
and
right,
if that's true,
insurance,
that's like
they're paying it out.
Probably at least 30 some grand, because every time it gets hit, it resets to 5. If it doesn't get hit at all, it's still 20 some grand to the end of the season.
At some point this year,
I mean,
they better not let it.
That alone's $120K just between the money that's going out to fans, or fans / players. That's huge.
Better hope it doesn't stick around.
I'm not denying that the money is coming into the Disc Golf Pro Tour by any means. The only thing I'm ever having pushback on is just the marketing behind it, like the way that they're describing it. And I would love to hear in the comments down below what people think of the Ace-a-thon. Do they think that this is something like,
not the Ace-a-thon? Hopefully they love that.
No, not the Ace-a-thon. Like, my thought is, Hunter, is I'm just saying, if you had a sponsor come to you and say, hey, we have $30,000 that we want to do an activation. My question is this the best? Is this the best activation that they could do?
Sure.
And I would love to hear what people think in the comments.
Very fair.
Comment down below. What do you think about Powerball? Could they do some better activations? Let's move on to our final topic here. It's going to be Nikki and Dustin. We'll say Nikki, heads or tails?
Tails.
Tails never fails. And it is tails. Would you like to go first or second?
I'll go first.
Okay. In a shocking turn of events,
yes,
someone wants to go first.
Be different.
All right. So the time extension rule made its debut in Florida. See on coverage a few times, including during an important approach from Rick on 17, calling out that time extension. Although many scoffed at this rule upon its creation, do you think seeing it in real time has legitimized it as a real solution? And do you see any this rule creating any controversy in its current form now that you've kind of seen it play out? Any kind of pitfalls do you think might be out there? What do you think?
Okay, so I think that's a great rule. And I think it for a couple of reasons. First of all, the fact that they get to call 2 time extensions, or if they go over their time without calling time extensions so that another player can call it on them without there really being a sense of penalty, means that I think more people are going to call on time violations when they happen. And I think we need that because I think at big moments throughout the season last year, we saw a couple of times when maybe people took too much time. I'm thinking on Portland on hole 18, like Gannon taking forever, and like there were some opportunities to call time, and then everything kind of falling apart for both him and AB on that hole. And of course, at the Tour Championships on hole 14, like that was a lot of drama, right, around time and existing within the time. I also think it respects the players' big moments, right? So if you're trying to play for your first win or a big victory and you need to think through things, then you get a chance to do that. You get a chance to say, hey, I'm going to stop and think through things. And we saw on coverage, Ricky talking to Paul, asking where the OB was, you know, kind of figuring out what he was going to do that shot, using that time to execute a pretty high risk shot. Maybe he got a little lucky landing safe on it, but that time extension really helped him out and obviously became part of him winning it. I know this isn't directly tied to time extensions, but I would still like to see an official on maybe like lead and chase card who was really keeping an eye on the time and could call some of those too, because I think that would trickle down. I think people playing within their time is important. I think it's important for the flow of the game. I think it's important to, if you have rules, you follow the rules. So I think that this this time extension rule is a good thing. I think it gives chances for the players to really think through things. It's tough, right? Like when you're in the woods and you've got thorns scratching your legs and you've got to look at the line and you got to figure out how you're going to land a disc. Sometimes it takes more than 10, 15, 20, 30 seconds, and having the ability to extend that and to figure stuff out at a big key moment is a good thing. So I like the rule a lot.
Okay. Dustin, what are your thoughts?
I will say this one instance didn't really change my beliefs on this rule from what I thought before, which is that I think this is not necessary technically, and that I don't know that this is really what you have to be doing. Look, I think this went all neat and tidy when it came to Rick in this particular situation on hole 17. It added a little bit of extra drama and suspense to the broadcast, maybe too, when you hear that he's actually calling for this because he knows how important it is and stuff like that. And so that is kind of neat. But the thing is, it's like the sample size is still too small, so we don't know how this plays out across the entire season. It's also different between when it's going to play out for someone on camera versus what it's like when you're the 10th card down and you have a situation like this. You get like what, 2 30-second extensions in a round. I think for me, the biggest reason why you see a rule like this and the biggest reason why you would maybe need it is because of pace of play. And that's really for 2 reasons. One, it's for the pace of play for the players dealing with it throughout the course of the day. But it's also pace of play when you're trying to put out a live broadcast. So you don't want to last 5 hours to get through a round, right? Especially if you're playing until dark in some of these situations that we've already seen. But for me, it's like, if people are at on average doing a good pace of play, then I don't have a problem with them taking extra time on a few difficult shots throughout the course of the round, as long as they're not causing a persistent problem. Now, the issue with this would obviously be, well, how do you do this fairly across the board, right? Because you have to have some type of standard in place, otherwise people can abuse it, other people aren't, and it's still going to be inconsistent. So you want a consistent rule. But for me, it's like, I think it should just be a thing for the card. Like the card needs to be moving at a certain pace. Like that's the way I think it'd be good. And I just think you're going to have instances more than twice in a round where maybe it would make sense to give someone a little bit of extra time. And look, I do get that this rule, the way they've structured it now, allows you to kind of call it on someone sooner and not feel as bad because you're not actually penalizing them yet. And so maybe that gets people in the groove of actually being willing to call a rules violation. But at the end of the day, like, it still could easily get glossed over on, again, 5th card down that no one's really paying attention to. And so I just don't know that that's really as consistent as they want it to be. And I don't really know if it has that much impact overall.
Yeah, I think that what's most fascinating to me about how this played out on camera was the idea that Rick had the presence of mind to call this time extension.
Yeah.
In the most important shot of his round, when was anybody really going to do anything if he didn't? Probably not. History would say no. So what that tells me is, and James too, like, I mean, he's just playing like, he had a good round going when he called his on camera. But once again, it's like the fact that the players are willing to call themselves the time extension means that they're thinking about their time. And so far, nothing has gotten them to think about their time much. And so for whatever reason, I don't know how it was communicated to them, but I saw players hustle way more than I ever have. And I was just like, it was boggling my mind that like Ricky, who is thinking about trying not to throw away this tournament, is thinking, I'm going to call a time extension, when that's not habit, right? That's like that's not muscle memory to do that. So I agree with you, Dustin, in the sense that I think it is an ugly rule. Like, I don't think it looks very clean. I do think it was a small sample size, but on the broadcast, it was at least not a huge nuisance because there wasn't a huge deal about it. But I do think it is a little clunky, and I wish it wasn't the solution. But I do have to agree with Nikki in the sense that as of right now, one tournament in, it went really well. And I think the pace of play was pretty good. So I'm going to give Nikki the nod on this one. I'm going to give her the debut win today. I think that was a compelling argument, but very close there. Very close. You guys have good points on both sides of that argument. Comment down below what you think about this, because like I said, I don't love the time extension rule, but I was very surprised at how it played out, and I'm curious to see like how long can we go this year before there is like a stink, like somebody calls it and somebody's like, oh, you already used your time extensions. No, I didn't. Like, surely we're destined for something like that. We'll have to see. But congratulations, Nikki. You got it done. I don't know how many people have won on their first show. It's probably not a very long list.
I was hyping myself up big time. So I have I'm the opposite of Brodie, and I have papers that I like typed up and researched and practiced. And I was just like, okay, I'm just going to go on act cool the whole time and hope it goes well. So
absolutely. Well, it paid off. You did a great job, and looking forward to having you on the show more this season.
Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Everybody, chime in. Who do you think won tonight? Do you agree with me? Do you not? And make sure to submit topics. You can scan the QR code. It's going to pop up here on the screen. And then if I remember, I will get like a pinned comment up as well. Looking for lots of topic submissions. We have an off week this weekend. No disc golf tournament on the Pro Tour. So it's kind of going to be open season for what you want to discuss and debate. But thanks for watching, everybody. And hope to see you next time.